Hey guys, this is Spartacus here, and yesterday we got ourselves the roadmap for Season 2 for Call of Duty Vanguard and Warzone, and there is a lot in this roadmap, which is something that I love to see. Of course, not everything that we see here is going to be coming out on February 14th, which of course is the launch day for Season 2. Some of it will be later on in the season, but nonetheless, there is a lot of stuff to talk about, and it looks like we're getting a lot of great things added in Vanguard multiplayer, and a lot of positive things coming to Vanguard Zombies as well, and lots of unique things also coming into Warzone, and so there's a lot to talk about. Let's just go ahead and dive right into it. Let's start off with what's going to be added to Warzone, and the first thing we're going to be covering is the Nebula V Ammo, or the Nebula V Ammo. I don't actually know what it's supposed to represent. I don't know if that's supposed to be a V or if it's supposed to be a Roman numeral 5 or something like that, but for the sake of this video, let's just call it the Nebula Ammo. And so what this is it's classified as a field upgrade in Warzone. Nebula ammo is no stronger than regular bullets, but does have one major exception. When an operator is downed by them, they will emit a poisonous gas cloud. Anyone attempting to revive this operator or standing within a few feet of them will face similar complications to circle collapse, exposure, coughing, blurred vision, and a slight amount of damage over time, whether that be to a player's health or to their gas mask duration. Nebula ammo takes only up a single clip of ammunition, but for some weapons, that may be enough to turn the tide of a team fight, especially within interior spaces. And this, I think, is pretty interesting. Of course, you know, stopping power was a huge problem when Warzone first came out, and I don't think you can find stopping power rounds in a normal battle royale in Warzone, and if you can still, it's extremely rare. And so, of course, now we're getting a new type of ammo, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be too powerful. It doesn't seem it's going to be not that lethal, you know. It seems more like kind of like a tactical ammunition. Like, think of, I guess, the incendiary ammunition from like Vanguard, but instead of being like fire, it's gas. And so we'll have to see how this plays out. Hopefully it's not too overpowered when the update comes. We also have a Nebula Bomb. One of the rarest items in Warzone is the Nebula Bomb, a locked briefcase full of deadly gas with an explosive charge. Once activated and set down in front of an operator, it will detonate after a fixed countdown and cannot be disarmed or destroyed. Its initial explosion deals a high amount of damage in a small radius before the gas spreads outward, where it will hurt any operator without a gas mask. The gas lingers for 2 minutes before ultimately dispersing or feeding into the oncoming circle collapse. Operators can potentially outrun this explosive aftermath just as they would the circle collapse, but in terms of an area denial tool, the Nebula Bomb is a powerful force if you can find it. So this apparently is going to be the rarest item, or at least one of the rarest items in Warzone, and it looks like it's going to be really powerful. This I can definitely be seen used in like the final circles, the final matches of like a battle royale match for Warzone. I can totally see how deadly this thing can be, especially to players who don't have a gas mask, and I'm really curious to see how this will actually play out. I feel like this is probably going to be a little bit more annoying to go up against than compared to the actual Nebula ammunition, just because when this thing does get placed down, it can't be disarmed or destroyed. So I really do wonder like how it's going to play out when it comes to like the final circles and final fights in a battle royale match. I guess we'll have to wait and see, but interesting nonetheless. Another item coming to Warzone is the portable decontamination stations, or also known as P.D.S. Despite its toxicity, Nebula can also be temporarily dispersed. The portable decontamination station, new field equipment in Caldera, is a portable device that filtrates air for several seconds, protecting anyone inside the circle collapses or nebula gas. These devices impact all operator tac maps, allowing everyone to see where they are currently activated, and they can be destroyed by explosives or ballistics. With these caveats in mind, the portable decontamination station is still useful in surviving both old and new chemical threats, and could likely lead to some new positioning strategies for battle royale mode. So this is something similar that I think Fortnite had a long time ago. I don't know if they still have something like this, but in Fortnite, I remember there was a grenade where if you threw it, it would basically create this giant sphere essentially, and it would basically have like the collapse in like the area you threw it, but if you were to throw it in like the collapse, then it will create a safe space to where you can't take damage from the collapse, and that's essentially what this is, and it's going to be act as a field upgrade. So I can definitely see this also being used in final battles where it could be like one person left in a squad going up against like a 3-man squad, and he has this thing, and he's able to just run deep into the gas and just place it down so that way they don't know where he's located. I mean, to be fair though, it looks like when you place this down, you can actually see where it's placed on the map, so you can't really get away with it that much. But either way, I definitely see people use this thing for strategies to go into the gas and just kind of camp their butt off until, like, I guess the field upgrade like goes away. Either way, we'll have to see how this plays out. I know the infinite stim glitch was a problem in the past, and hopefully there isn't any glitches with this thing in the future to where it just makes it really easy to win battle royale matches, because you can just go into the gas and place this down and not take any damage. But either way, I think it's kind of a unique feature to have in Warzone, and we'll have to see how it plays out. There is also going to be AI controlled armored transport trucks that are going to be set on a looping path, attacking those within its immediate vicinity with its 2 machine gun turrets. Operators also need to avoid the mines it drops behind it, as well as the aerial support it calls in should it drop to low health. Upon destruction, the armored transportation trucks will drop incredibly valuable items, including, in the rarest cases, an intact Nebula bomb. And so this is pretty much going to be one of the strategies of how you're going to get access to these Nebula bombs. Also a great way probably to get Nebula ammo as well. And so I think it's really interesting. They're adding AI controlled armored trucks and AI controlled, I guess, enemies to attack us in Warzone. I think that's awesome, because not only do we have to worry about actual players to go up against, there's also AI controlled bots who are also going to be attacking us. And I think this makes the experience a lot more fun, and I think this can actually be really interesting when it comes to actually playing in an actual match of battle royale, because you could be chasing after a truck and then another squad could come in and try and take you out so they can get the truck for themselves. I don't know, I can see this being really interesting, and I'm really curious how this is going to turn out, because it just looks a lot of fun in all honesty. We are also getting a couple of different points of interest. First of all, there's going to be the chemical factory, which we kind of already have a factory in Caldera, if I'm not mistaken. Honestly, I don't really play Warzone that much, but this chemical factory is going to essentially replace an existing location already, which is a little unfortunate, because I know people complain about how there's so much open space in Caldera already. Either way, this chemical factory is going to have a lot more loot on it than average compared to the other places, but it's also going to be guarded by AI controlled bots, which I think is really cool. And it also mentions how there's going to be traps in like the central location of this factory. And I don't know what kind of traps this is, but I'm assuming they're probably going to be like claymores or trip mines or something like that. And so I think this is going to be really interesting to go ahead and loot it, because if you go there, you have to realize that there is going to be AI controlled enemies there, even if you know nobody else dropped there with you. And so I think it'll be interesting how that will turn out. But there's also going to be an underground chemical research weapon lab, and so I think this is also going to be a cool place to go to as well. We don't really know too much about it, but it is a place that will contain Nebula ammo, so that will be definitely a point of interest to keep in mind if you ever want to try and use something like that. But one thing they didn't actually add within Season 2, which is a little unfortunate, is a different gulag. I mean, maybe we are going to be getting a different gulag within this Season 2, but usually they mention it in their blog post and they didn't here, which is unfortunate. So I really do hope they change the gulag. Not that I don't like it, actually. I actually really like the gulag that we have for Caldera, but either way, it doesn't seem like we're getting a new one. It also looks like that we're going to be able to fly a bomber plane in Vanguard Royale, and I do mean Vanguard Royale. So it seems like that the bomber plane is only going to be available in the Vanguard modes for Warzone, and so Vanguard Royale, you know, Vanguard Plunder, or whatever type of game mode that has Vanguard on it is going to have this bomber plane available for you, unless of course you're playing like Rebirth Island. This is Caldera, of course, we're talking about. And what's interesting about the bomber plane, of course, you can take out infantry and vehicles with this bomber plane, but you can also destroy loadouts, which I think is kind of interesting. And the thing that you got to remember, you guys, I know a lot of people might be a little concerned that you can destroy loadouts with this plane, but the thing is, you know, you're going to have to locate where a loadout's going to drop. Sure, like maybe while you're flying it, you can see all the loadouts like fall from the sky, and then you can like fly somewhere to destroy them. But the thing is that if you're flying the plane and you don't know where any loadouts are at, then you're just going to have to like guess where to actually drop the bombs, I suppose, because I mean, there's no actual indicator showing you where a loadout drop might be, unless it does give you an indicator while you're flying the plane. But I guess only time will tell until this update rolls out, and we'll see what it actually does. But either way, I don't think this plane is going to be like too big of a deal, considering fighter like pilots can like take this thing out pretty easily if you're in like another plane and trying to shoot it down. Also, AA turrets can shoot it down as well, so I don't really see it being too big of an issue. But I I think it will be an interesting change of pace for Warzone. Also, a redeploy balloon is coming to Warzone, shown on the TAC map as a blimp icon. The redeploy balloon is a ticket back into the skies to reposition thousands of meters away from your set location. Operators can ascend to the top of the balloon via a zip line tethered to the balloon, then leap off at the top and deploy their parachute to cover great distances. Planes or weaponry can destroy the redeploy balloon, and once the balloon is deflated, operators can spend a few $1,000 to reinflate it. This new movement option can be exceptional for repositioning across the map, so long as you watch out for bogeys entering your airspace. So this is kind of an interesting idea. I don't know how well it would play out. I think it would be more beneficial for like trying to cover ground a lot quicker by going up on the top of it, and then of course, you know, pulling your parachute and just, you know, covering a lot of distance. I think that will be the most beneficial part about this balloon. But other than that, I don't know how else it would be useful. I don't know why you would spend a couple $1,000s on like trying to inflate the balloon again. But maybe it could really help you out if you're like not even near the circle and the gas is like closing in really fast. That could be another strategy to use, but that's all I could really think of, like the way I would personally use it. There's also a couple game modes getting added to Season 2. First, we have Caldera Clash, which is basically the same as the Clash game mode that we saw within the Verdansk version of it, except now it's going to be on the Caldera map. And what's cool about this is that we're going to have 2 teams of 48 operators, and it's basically just going to be one giant team deathmatch game mode, and there's going to be power-ups for you to collect, so you can have like faster move speed, reload speed, and yeah, that's probably the same power-ups we saw before. There's going to be contracts, buy stations, so you can get kill streaks, and literally it's going to be the same Clash game mode except in Caldera. And we're also going to be getting Rebirth Iron Trials, which is something I'm a little bit more excited for than the Clash game mode, just because Iron Trials was my favorite game mode added to Warzone. I played it a ton. I've only won one time, admittedly, and it was actually in the solo version of Iron Trials. And what's interesting about Rebirth Iron Trials is that since the Iron Trials is coming to Rebirth Island, you're only going to be able to use the Black Ops Cold War weaponry, which I think is quite interesting. And so another thing to keep in mind, this is going to be duos, so it's only going to be two players of 20 squads, and it doesn't look like it's going to be a Resurgence type game mode. It's going to be acted as the Battle Royale version of Iron Trials that we've seen already. So I know most people play Rebirth Island for the Resurgence game mode, to where you can basically respawn unlimited amount of times in a certain time frame. It's not going to be like that. Basically, once you die, you go to the Gulag, and you have to win the Gulag to get back into the game. So it's going to be a normal Battle Royale within Rebirth Island, excuse me, on the Iron Trials game mode. Okay, we talked a lot about Warzone. Now it's time to kick things off with Vanguard's multiplayer. So it looks like we are going to be getting ranked play for this season, but it says ranked play beta, which is a little upsetting. So that means that they're trying to tell us that it's not technically going to be ready when they launch it during Season 2, which kind of pisses me off a little bit, even though I'm not really a ranked play person. I know there's a lot of people who love to play ranked for Call of Duty, and seeing how it says beta, I think is a little irritating to hear, but nonetheless, ranked is coming within the launch of Season 2, which is great to see. And then of course, we're getting 2 new multiplayer maps. First one is going to be Casablanca, and the second one is going to be called Gondola, which is probably going to be the one I'm most interested in, just because there's an actual gondola you can ride on, right? But we're also going to be getting a new kill streak, and it's the Ball Turret Gunner. This was a kill streak I love using back in Call of Duty World War II. It was actually the hardest kill streak you to earn back then. Here within Vanguard, it's going to be a 12 kill streak to actually use, and you have to get it through the Season 2 Battle Pass. And my goodness, it's about time we finally got a kill streak that's just going to be devastating to enemy players, and I can totally see this thing just demolishing the enemy team. I cannot wait to get annoyed by this in Shipment and DOS House, you guys. I really cannot wait. But either way, I'm excited to use a new kill streak because I wanted a kill streak that was like a lot more interesting to use, and now that we finally have a kill streak that seems pretty interesting, I'm excited to try it out. We are also getting the Sticky Bomb lethal equipment, which is essentially the grease grenade or the Semtex from other types of Call of Duty games, and so it's cool to see how it's coming here within Vanguard. It's a little odd how we don't see lethal equipment come into Warzone, if I'm being completely honest with you, but I can just totally save that conversation for another video. But nonetheless, we are finally getting the Sticky Bomb or Semtex within Vanguard's multiplayer, and we're also going to be getting another perk. There we have a perk coming to the perk 1 category called Armory, a direct counter perk to Engineer. Armory is ideal for operators who use more than just their weaponry in combat, namely placeable demolition charges, concussion mines, and placeable field equipment pieces. So that's kind of stupid, if I'm being completely honest with you, a counter to the engineer perk. The engineer perk is something that I don't think is very beneficial in Vanguard. Well, I think it is beneficial, especially when enemies call in like their attack dogs. But you know, if we're going to have a counter to engineer, so that means that your stun mines and placeable equipment is not going to be seen by engineer users, I think that's going to be a little annoying, but I guess we'll have to see how it actually plays out. And then for the perk 3 category, we're getting the mechanic perk. Mechanic provides a reasonable buff to field upgrade charge time, making it a must-have for completing challenges relating to them or for operators who love using them. And I was a little surprised we didn't have a perk like this already at launch. This is something that I can't really see being that annoying. You know, I don't really have too much quarrels going on with the field upgrades within Vanguard, so having a perk where you can earn them faster is really no problem for me. And since Vanguard Season 2 is releasing on Valentine's Day, they are going to have a Valentine's Day themed experience with some double XP opportunities and thematic changes for dropping in around this time. No love is needed to enjoy it, just invite some friends and prepare to fight for a true King of Hearts. And that's all they have to say about it. And they have a picture of course, a teddy bear with a flamethrower, so obviously they're going to replace the Flame Knot skin with this giant teddy bear, which I think is pretty cool, honestly. And why don't they do this for microtransactions? This is a great opportunity for them to create microtransactions to actually give us skins for the Flame Knot or for just kill streaks in general. I have no idea why they haven't done this already, but I think that would be really cool for the Flame Knot in particular, since it looks like they're already changing the skin for this, I guess, Valentine's Day event, if you want to call it that. I mean, it doesn't seem like we're getting a lot to it, unfortunately, but we're getting some double XP opportunities, and maybe there's some challenges to go along with it. They didn't really say that, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. It looks like a game mode called Arms Race is coming to Vanguard, and I think this is supposed to be the leaked war game mode or the ground war game mode coming into Vanguard, where essentially we can drive vehicles. And it says, an arms race with armored war machines is bigger than infantry combat. It's piloting motorcycles, squad transport vehicles, and tanks en route to destroy enemy bases. This and other features are expected to arrive during Season 2. Sledgehammer Games will release their initial patch notes next week, including balancing changes. So that's all we have for this game mode, unfortunately. I wish we had a little bit more details on it, but it looks like this is going to be the game mode that is going to be like kind of like the big team battle where there's going to be vehicles you can drive, and it's going to be really interesting how this will turn out. And finally, we are on to Vanguard Zombies, and we are getting a brand new map called Terra Maledicta, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, I have no clue if this is going to be like a new zombies map where it's like normal traditional round base, because they mentioned that it's basically going to be a new version of like basically Der Anfang. It's like a new hub essentially, and so there's going to be like other arenas and areas we can enter through portals, and I think it's going to be through this Terra Maledicta place. And so I honestly have like no idea if this is going to be normal round based zombies or if we're going to have to enter that portal after like round 3 or whatever to get to normal round based zombies like we saw with Der Anfang recently. And so I'm a little confused how it works, if I'm being completely honest with you, but either way, we're getting a new map, which I think is pretty dope. And then of course, some of these new areas that we're going to be able to go to is Corrupted Lands, which I believe is the actual Dark Aether itself. It looks really cool actually, so I'm curious how that's going to play. Then there's also going to be an Eastern Desert as well as the Hall of Truth. And then we're also going to be getting ourselves a new ability, a new artifact to use, which is the Healing Aura, which we of course saw within Black Ops Cold War. And of course, the kind of like being or whatever that controls this Healing Aura is actually Verkana the Last. And so we're also going to be getting another being who is actually going to be an enemy, and this person's name is Zebula the Deceiver, or the Zabala, I guess I should say. I kind of pronounced that a little bit wrong there, but we don't really know how we're supposed to take out this new enemy, but it does say that although she is resistant to many forms of attack, that which gives her energy could also be her greatest weakness. So, I mean, it looks like this like new enemy is going to be available in Der Anfang and of course the new zombies map as well, and so we'll have to see how it actually turns out and what we have to do to go up against this being. I don't really know how like the attacks are going to work from this enemy and stuff like that. Either way, there's an image on screen, so we know what this enemy is going to look like after all. And then of course, we're going to get a couple new wonder weapons. The ray gun is finally making a return, something that should have been there at launch, but we're finally getting it here within Season 2. And then we're also be getting this new new shield called the Decimator shield. And what it does is that it can, of course, provide some protection, but can also have a decimation blast ability. And this is actually a really sick looking shield. It kind of reminds me of the Apothecon Servant in like a shield form, and that it has like a giant eye in the front of it. And I wonder if it's actually going to be talking to you while you hold it. That'll be like really interesting. Either way, cool to see that how we're getting 2 new wonder weapons. I guess only 1 new wonder weapon technically. And it looks like I'm a feeling that this shield, the Decimator shield, is going to be able to become Pack-a-Punch, because if I remember correctly, the shield that we have that we can put in like our loadout class or whatever, I don't think you can actually Pack-a-Punch that shield, but I think with this you might be able to, which I think is awesome. And of course the ray gun's coming back, which is always a plus. Another thing that's being added is a new sacrifice objective, which looks really creepy, as you can see in the image here. So basically what it says is that Vanguard's Zombies' 6th objective calls upon players to disrupt a gruesome dark aether blood magic ceremony. And I don't actually know how to say this name, but Grotiske structures known as Sphyken cores, or whatever the fuck they're called, will suck the essence out of the surrounding undead. Once they feed, the cores, or whatever they're called, will spawn more zombies than they consume. It's unleashing the horde upon the world, prevent the zombies from filling all 3, and the dark ceremony will be thwarted. My god, there's like a lot of weird words in there, let me tell you. But either way, we're getting another objective, which sounds pretty cool, and of course a story quest, which I find quite interesting. And they kind of gave us a little tease here that there's going to be a shovel that we're going to be able to pick up and dig around places on the Eastern Desert type map that's going to be added, or the area that's going to be added into Terra Maldicta. And so we'll have to see how that actually goes forth. But another thing, we're getting a new covenant called the Artifact Ward. A new ability joins the Altar of Covenants with 3 tiers of rarity. Equipped Artifact Ward for a chance to trigger your artifact for free when hit by a melee attack from the rear, which can come in clutch when your squad's in trouble during higher rounds. And yeah, there's like a rare, epic, and legendary version of this. Yeah, being hit by a melee attack anywhere has a higher chance to trigger your artifact. That's like the legendary version of it, so you can imagine what the other descriptions say for rare and epic version. But yeah, that is pretty much everything being added to Warzone multiplayer and Zombies. It's cool to see that Zombies is getting a huge update, but I also kind of forgot about some of the new weapons as well. We are going to be getting the KG M40, and then the Whitley, as well as the Ice Axe, which of course is going to act as a melee weapon. And what's cool about this melee weapon is that you can throw it. You can't just melee people with it, you can also throw it as well, which is awesome. But the Ice Axe is going to be available later in the season, unfortunately, so we're going to have to wait for that. And of course we're going to get new operators, and there's going to be new bundles coming as well within this season. So there's pretty much a lot of different things to look forward to. I know this video was really long, I don't want to continue any further, but thank you all so much for listening, and make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel for future content regarding Season 2 in Vanguard and Warzone. And also don't forget to follow me on Twitter to stay up to date with me outside of YouTube, and I shall catch you guys later.